Now on Mississippi Insight.
We think it's time to look seriously at reforming our tax code in general, but specifically moving away from personal income tax and the tax on work, and moving to a consumption-based economy.
House Speaker Jason White talks with 12 News about his hefty agenda for the 2025 session. Also, Dr. Marcus L. Thompson is well into his second year as president of Jackson State University. We'll talk about his vision for a school that is getting a lot of attention nationwide. That's all ahead this week on Mississippi Insight. I'm Byron Brown on broadcast and on podcast. Thank you for joining us for this January 11th edition of Insight. State lawmakers returned to work Monday, January 13th, after the official start of the 2025 legislative session. Cold weather in Jackson greeted legislators Tuesday. Leaders in the House and Senate have been locking in committee assignments, and the next few weeks will feature lots of hearings as new bills make their way through their respective chambers. We heard last week from Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann on his plans in the Senate. Now it's the House Speaker's turn. Republican Jason White in his second term as leader of the House. The representative from the town of West spoke with us at length Tuesday in his office at the state capitol.
Speaking about the 2025 session is just beginning, talk about the key topics that you guys are really looking at. The tax reform is a big one. Where do you stand on the issue of tax reform?
It's a big one. We spent a lot of time in the off season. As you know, last year was my first session as speaker, and so we didn't spend a lot of the fall of 2023 getting ready for last year's session because everybody was involved in their elections. And we were involved in helping guys and girls get elected. So we were in campaign mode. So we didn't spend the off season getting ready for session other than getting the right folks elected. So last year we just kind of made the best of it. And that's why the first year of a four-year term is longer, to give you some time to get your feet on the ground, figure out what you're going to do. But as we finished up session last year and we went into the summer and fall, I formed some select committees, one being on tax reform, one being on revitalization of our capital city, one on healthcare, specifically CON reform, and on pharmacy benefit manager PBM reform. Like, we formed some select committees to deal specifically with those things. Members who had indicated an interest in engaging in those things, like that's their thing, you know, they want to be in on that. So those committees were able to meet all summer and all fall. They had multiple meetings. They called in folks to testify. They had hearings. Folks came from not only our state, but even from other states and around the country to weigh in as they invited guests to, you know, figure out how other states are doing on these different topics. But tax reform was one of those biggest items that we spent probably the majority of our time. If you remember, we had a policy summit out in Flowood, the Weston. We had over 500 attendees, and it was on tax reform. And so we spent a bunch of time bringing in folks that talked and experts in the field, and even some of our state senators agreed to be on panels and talk through some of that stuff. So it was good fact finding. It was good to find out where Mississippians are. They were all invited. It was free to the public. And so with all of that, we kind of, a consensus started building around, we can continue to cut our income tax. We've been cutting it for a few years now, and we still have another year from the 2022 tax cut next year. And then after that, what we want to do is pick up right there and start on that. We will be a 4% flat tax state at full phase-in next year. What we want to do is start on that 4% immediately. Next year, after full phase-in, we would like to take another % off and then whittle down that other 3% that's remaining over an extended period of time, maybe 6, 8, even 10 years, whatever is reasonable. We'd like to do it in a orderly and conservative way so that we don't put ourselves in a bind where we can't pay our bills and function and afford the core functions of government, the things that taxpayers and voters have come to expect from their state government. So we've continued to run record surpluses. We're on track this year to run another surplus of $700 to $800 million over and above what we're going to spend. The state has over $2 billion in our checking account. That's in addition to the rainy day fund, which is sitting right at $700 million. Like, we got money in the bank. We hadn't borrowed money in 3 years. We think it's time to look seriously at reforming our tax code in general, but specifically moving away from personal income tax and the tax on work and moving to a consumption-based economy. In other words, the things you buy and consume are the things you're taxed on. Now, we have the highest grocery tax retail sales of groceries in the country. We're looking to cut that. My stated goal has been to try to cut it in half as quickly as possible. That may take somewhat of a phase in as well, because that is a lot. Our cities derive a lot of sales tax from the sale of groceries, and that's how they run city governments. So my commitment to the cities have been, as we cut taxes, and even if we cut the grocery tax in addition to cutting personal income tax, we will keep them whole, which means out of a 7-cent sales tax now, cities receive about 1.5 cents, not quite 1.5 cents. So if we're going to let them keep their full 1.5 cents and we're going to cut grocery taxes, then the state's going to kind of take a double cut on grocery taxes, whatever we cut it, if we're going to cut our side of it and absorb the city's side of the cut. So we got to be careful and methodical about how we do that, but we can. We can be smart about it and do it in a measured, reasonable way that gives Mississippians relief in the way that we tax their work and their income, and in the way that we tax them when they buy their groceries, the things they have to buy to exist, so to speak. So we can whittle that down, and while we're doing that, I want us to look seriously at how we fund MDOT. We've got we fund a modern day highway system, roads and bridges, on a 1987 highway program that taxed gas at 18 cents excise tax, flat tax. That's whether gas is $5 a gallon or $1. You pay 18 cents a gallon. We would like to move away from that, move to an index or a sales tax on gas, and find a dedicated stream of revenue to fully fund our roads and bridges. Now, MDOT is asking for somewhere around $600 million new dollars. I don't know that we can get there, but we can certainly get a long ways towards that and find a dedicated stream of revenue for them. And I think not only did we spend a bunch of time meeting and bringing folks and experts in last year, we did extensive polling of Mississippians on issues that are important to them. And infrastructure was right at the top. Folks want good roads and bridges, and that's one thing that they don't get upset at politicians for spending their money on, is infrastructure, roads and bridges. And so we're trying to find a way to not just wait around to the end of session and see if we have any money left over to fund a big highway project. But that's no way to run a highway system. They need a dedicated, funded stream of revenue, and we need to find that. And so as we look at this all-encompassing tax reform, trying to cut personal income tax, trying to cut grocery tax, let's look at the way we do our fuel tax and our roads and bridges and figure that out and make that all in one piece. And I think taken as a whole, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of almost $1 billion tax cut over time, and gets us moving away from the income tax to full elimination. I would like the bill to not require any further legislation. Even if it takes years to get there, we've set it in motion and it's done. You saw Arkansas last year cut their income tax to 3.9%. That number didn't fall out of the sky. That was to get below us at 4%. Louisiana getting to 3.5%. That number didn't fall out of the sky. That was their recent cuts in their special session were to get below their surrounding southern sister states, because it is competitive economically. So I talked a lot to tell you that is, if you can't tell, that is our number one priority for this session, is tax reform. We feel like we're going to have the governor's support. That is his stated public goal, is eliminating the personal income tax, which is a major piece of our tax reform. So we're thankful for that support, and I think you'll see a bill coming out pretty quick in the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, on that, coming out of our Ways and Means Committee that'll hit the House floor and probably be hotly debated, and it'll be interesting to see, where folks are on the issue.
When it comes to education funding, I know there's been some talk about sending some state money to private schools. Where do you stand on that, and why would you want to send state money?
Right. What that's about is, and again, we're not reinventing the wheel. States around us are considering it or have done it, such as Arkansas. Alabama came within a whisper of passing it this past session. I look for them to move in that direction this year. This is not about shifting loads of taxpayer money to private schools. But I got to remind everybody, every bit of this money came from taxpayers. It's not our money, it's taxpayers' money. It's not the state of Mississippi's money, it's taxpayers' money paid by people who, in a lot of cases, happen to also be parents of school-aged children. What we're saying, we're not advocating for universal choice where any parent can send their kid anywhere they want. They just take the state per pupil cost, and here it goes. What we're saying is our kids should be able to transfer from one public school to another public school if that public school will accept them, and the state portion of the per pupil cost, not the local tax, not the local contribution, but just the state portion that the state pays, would follow that child to that other public school. We would try to set up a fund to make up that difference, and it would be capped, and we'll see how many kids even avail themselves to it. It won't be many, because even in states that have universal choice, where the money entirely follows the child, the take rates are less than 10%. This is about a small segment of our population who, for whatever reason, either they're in a failing school district or their particular school district doesn't meet their kids' needs. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with that public school. Now, I would tell you, our DNF school districts have got to step it up. And we have put our money where our mouth is. We have fully funded historic levels, over $3 billion last year, but to whom much is given, much is expected. But we've made great strides in public education over the last few years. Our third grade reading gate, the things that we've done with our eighth graders, like there's a lot to be proud of in the gains they've made. So this isn't about bashing or hitting on our public school system. They've done great. This is about a segment of our population, for whatever reason, they're trapped in a failing school district. I don't want to hollow out certain regions of our state, because people eventually have to pick up and move and find another zip code. And that's what we tell them now is, if you're looking for a dynamic, better school district, just pick up and move. Well, if I do that, you know what half of my district's going to look like pretty soon? It's going to be hollowed out, and everybody's going to be down here with you in Madison County somewhere, or Rankin or Hines at a good school. I need choice for them. And I'm willing, if their parents are willing to get them to another public school that will accept them, or even a private school that will accept them, in DNF public school districts, I'm willing for the state portion of the per pupil cost to follow that child. And it's as simple as that, in the form of creating a scholarship account for that kid that can only be used for their education at an accredited school. This won't be something that 50,000 kids avail themselves to. But for those in those unique circumstances, I think it's time that we take a baby step in that direction, and let's see what the appetite is. We're also proposing some campus schools, like on the campus at Delta State, maybe at Valley State, maybe even at a couple of our community colleges, for kids who are in DNF districts, if they would prefer to go to those magnet schools on these college campuses. It's an idea that's been kicked around for a while. The one at Delta State, we would like to see mirrored after the cyber school that Alabama has done in Huntsville, that has been wildly successful. And if you hadn't seen it or looked it up, it's incredible. We would like to give preference to kids in that region, specifically Delta State, situated there in the Delta, but open it up statewide once we have met the needs of the kids in that region. And we got to figure out what that region looks like. But we're excited about the possibilities there too.
Remember, you can find our complete Newsmaker interviews on demand. Just search for Mississippi Insight on YouTube and on your favorite podcast apps. After the break, JSU's Marcus Thompson settles in for his second year as president. Mississippi Insight continues in a moment. It was November of 2023 when Dr. Marcus L. Thompson moved from the institutions of higher learning to the top post at Jackson State University. The school's president spoke with 12 News last week about campus developments and what he has in store for JSU in the new year ahead. Mr. President, well, congratulations on the Rose Parade and everything that happened there. Talk about that experience out there in California with the sonic boom and what that meant to the university.
Well, thank you, Byron. That was an electrifying experience. I couldn't be more proud to stand there and cheer on the band. As you know, they're the best band in the land, but it was really amazing to see them in this most iconic event. And so to watch them, to see all of the training, all of those things to come to fruition was really great. And then as I looked across the crowd, I saw so many Jacksonians. There were people holding up the number 10, saying that they were the best. So it was just really a proud moment, and seeing all of the training. Dr. Little obviously is an excellent director of band, seeing all of that work come to fruition there. it was just amazing watching them walk down that street in Pasadena. So I couldn't be a more proud president to be there to witness that, and just honored to be there to cheer them on.
The social media, the attention that the band got, and the school, and even the state of Mississippi got from them being in that parade. What does that mean not only for the Jackson State but also for the state of Mississippi? Because behind that, Visit Mississippi had a flow in conjunction with you guys being there. How important was that, and how important was it for the school and for the state of Mississippi to benefit from all that?
It was very important because we were able to represent our state, and not only our state, our country as well, showing the great products that we have as students, and then having the states float right there with us. It showed that we truly are a great state, and we have great leadership as well, and that Mississippi is one of the best places in the country to come and visit, to come and attend a university, and hopefully that's Jackson State University. But it gave so much pride to see Mississippi represented there in that way. I think Chapel Hart, they were there as well as part of that float. So it was really a great day for Mississippi.
We're just beginning the legislative session that started this week. Is there a way to leverage what you guys did to help maybe get what you need from the state, because the band and the football team are doing well and putting the Jackson State in such a spotlight here for the state of Mississippi?
Absolutely. Byron, as you know, we have received tremendous support from the legislature. As a matter of fact, we received a very sizable appropriation last year, perhaps the largest in our institution's history, $32 million. So with that said, it shows that we are a great investment. When you see the investment with our band being an excellent band, the Sonic Boom of the South, our football team being a championship team, it shows that we know how to take those resources and equate those resources to success in those areas, but many other areas as well. So it shows that we're a great opportunity for investment, and it shows that the state will get its return on the investment if they invest in Jackson State University.
What do you want from the legislature moving forward in 2025?
Yes, well, from the legislature, we want continued support and the same love that they shared with us last year, obviously. We're seeking more support for more resident spaces because we have a shortage of housing. We've had about 400 students on a wait list for the past several years, so we need additional housing. We're also looking for support to renovate spaces like our Heritage dining hall on campus, to turn that into space for enrollment management to support our students. We're seeking support for TB Ellis, which is the only building on our campus that has a pool. So that's important that our students have that space. We need support as well for campus, our safety initiative. We need more lighting because it's a priority to keep our students safe. And also Rosie McCoy, that has served our community for over 70 years. We'd like to do some renovations there because not only do we serve students on campus, we also serve those in the community as well.
Do you think the state is going to be favorable in getting you what you want, the way things have been going for you so far?
I believe they will be favorable because one of the things that we like to always talk about are mutually beneficial situations. And investment in Jackson State and those things, it's mutually beneficial not only for Jackson State but the city of Jackson as well. As Jackson State is the only urban research institution in our state, it's important that an investment is made in us because we are also one of the pillars of this community. And as we do well, the city of Jackson does well, and I think that's important to our legislative body.
With Amazon building these data centers up in Madison County, what position and what are you hoping that Jackson State will play in providing jobs for those positions that are going to be available in coming 2 to 3 years from now?
Yeah, Byron, that's a great question, and we hope to be one of the leaders in our state in providing jobs for Amazon. And as the newly appointed president here, that was one of the first things our students asked me to do. They said they're grateful for an amazing education, but they also want to be connected to job opportunities. So we've had some discussions with Amazon as well about being partners, and we want to make sure that our students are prepared to be leaders in that space and be prepared to walk into opportunities when those doors open.
So are you going to be adding more computer science opportunities at the school, or how are you going to grow those opportunities?
We have been looking at our opportunities, particularly in areas like computer science, but specifically now, cybersecurity is an area that we're really focusing on. And as you can recall, perhaps a few months ago, Energy gave us a very substantial grant, the $2 million, to work on that network grid as well. So we are looking at expanding in those areas and really beefing up the area of computer science. And cybersecurity is one that we're focusing on as well.
If you have comments or questions about today's show or suggestion for an interview or segment, just drop us a line. Email our producers. The address is news@WJTV.com. Big thanks to House Speaker Jason White and JSU President Dr. Marcus Thompson for joining us this week. We'll be back next weekend with more of the political and current affairs coverage that you demand. I'm Byron Brown from all of us here at 12 News. Make it a great weekend.